No way.
Dude,
What the fuck is up, man?
how's it going, son?
Pretty good, Dad.
We can cut that part out if it's
For
too
sure.
loaded with weirdness. Dude, what the fuck, man? Haven't seen you, and I didn't expect you to answer that quickly. To be honest with you, I
I'm
wasn't
on it.
I wasn't mentally prepared for that. I'm not gonna lie to you. I was like, yeah. Normally, when I send somebody a link spontaneously, like last second, yeah, I end up forgetting that I even sent them the link. So then I'm like in the middle of something, and then all of a sudden their voice manifests. Um, but okay, dude. All right, all right. When's the last time we saw each other? It was on the bus on the last day of. Was it on the bus?
20, 2019, I think we dropped the bus off. I don't remember where, but then like we were in like a little minivan thing, just like waving out the window.
It's such a dude. Why was I the only one who was in tears? That's kind of sad. Like,
Oh, we for sure we all cried the second we pulled out the parking lot.
okay, thank God, thank God.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna
We
have
just
to
had
take
to
your
we had
word
to keep
for it.
it together. Yeah.
All right, all right, all right. Uh, so long story short, between now and then, I mean, things have changed a lot for both of us, I think, in many ways. Um, and I'm just kind of curious. So for full context here, we did a very long tour together, you and I, with mostly. How the fuck do we explain this? So our mutual friend, who was actually your friend for a long time, both of you from Tallahassee.
Right.
He toured with me and Spressa and John Wallace, our tour manager at the time, and we did a short run together, and he was great. I've stopped using names in this because I realize I always end up having to cut them because I don't know how people feel about things. But well, it's Connor. We're not saying anything bad, right? So
Right.
Connor's the guy, and we did this thing with Connor, and then we had told Connor like, dude, we're gonna do this like big tour in a couple of months. We don't really know if we want to do it. Like it's so stressful. And he had like figured out. He knew actually. Now he knew the logistics and everything. And he was like, I totally hear you, and I get why you think it's stressful. But I got some guys, and I know that they're hungry to get on the road and do this, and I think they're gonna be great. And like I'll get you like a package deal. That's actually how it was. He basically like sold you guys to us in that sense. You know what I mean? Like I don't mean literally, of course, but um, and we were like, all right, man, we trusted him, so we were like, fuck it, we don't even have to really meet these guys. If you say they're good, we'll do it. And then and then we all met, and I think it was great and good chemistry between all of us. And then we did this very long, grindy tour. And I told you recently in some text exchanges that we don't have to get into all that, but like it was a stressful time for us, and I have some regrets about certain things, but nothing bad happened. But I just I look back on that whole time with a lot of nostalgia and a lot of love for you guys, and Spressa does as well. Um, but you drummed for us, and so that's the context. That's I don't know. You want to add anything to that or
Yeah, I remember I was like horrified. I have like never done anything like that. I remember I transcribed your entire catalog just
oh.
in case. Like
Nice.
so
I
I had
vaguely remember you maybe mentioning that. Yeah.
yeah, I had everything written down. Thank God, because I think there was like one gig where you're like, we have to play this song because it's like big in this college town, and I was like, no problem. We're just sight reading shit on stage. And
I
then
think that's
two,
probably when we found out that you did that because sprung something on you and then you said like, "Ah, well, good thing." Yeah.
yeah, thank God. And I remember the third or fourth date was Red Rocks, and I still didn't have like the songs memorized, so I had my iPad hidden under my snare drum so no one could see it, and I was like reading music, just like hanging on for dear life.
Fuck yeah, dude. Red Rocks that was I think the big almost that basically was if we had just if that had been like the end of the tour, I think it would have felt like, yeah. That was like the iconic thing that sort of, I mean, I think there was a lot of good shows and stuff like that, and a lot of shows that we didn't. That was also the thing, is like touring. We were supporting another band, and that was the first time in all this where we were supporting a band where we genuinely, because we always just felt like on some level, you notice a difference in audiences, but we were kind of like, but at the end of the day, like, we know what we're doing. Audiences are audiences or whatever. That tour, I think, got into our head because we perceived that for some weird reason that crowd was just not really our crowd. And I remember, like, like, one thing I regret is actually expressing that to you guys, because obviously when sort of like, it's like from the top down, right? Like, if we're expressing insecurity about the way the crowd was, you guys might not have even thought that much about it. But I think we probably also kind of maybe put that in your head a little bit, kind of, because we were so stressed out about it. But I do remember, like, that was one of the things that stressed us out about that tour, is for some weird reason we felt that their audience was just not really crossing into our audience in the way that, you don't expect it to be 100% when you're doing support, right? But like, most of the time we felt good even doing support, and for some weird reason, I don't know what it was, but it just, that audience so many times felt weird to us. um
I remember what it was.
well, okay, what was it?
They were Christian.
Yeah, but it's not like we were going like, Satan, yeah.
No, I just
But
remember
yeah, I
like
think you're right. I think
the
you're
first date of AJR, like I remember like the entire crowd jumping, and we were like, "Holy shit, is this what it's supposed to be like?"
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I remember that because the AJR thing was at the very, very tail end of this other tour we were doing, right? And so it was a good way to end it, actually, in that sense. But it was also like, you could at least see, you guys could finally understand what was stressing us out so much, because that was more along the lines of what we expected. Obviously, we hadn't played like shows that huge, but that was kind of our general, more or less, experience. Like, and before that tour that I'm referring to, where the crowd felt weird, it was more like you would get the random shows that were felt weird. But with this tour, it just felt like it was only the random shows that felt good, which was like an inverse kind of situation. And then, yeah, the AJR thing at the very tail end was like, oh, thank God, we don't have to end this whole thing on like, the weirdness that we've been feeling. But in any case, since that time, tell me what you've been up to, man. Give me the
Yeah,
whole fucking 6 years or whatever. It's 5.5 or whatever years. We talked a lot on the bus. You showed us a lot of your solo ideas and things like that. And I remember me and Spressa feeling that your stuff was really good, and Spressa in particular, I think, was very specifically encouraging. I mean, that's the way we remember it anyway. And yeah, so I'm just curious about, like, what was it like, what happened after that, and when, like, what's your experience and journey been so far, like, doing what you've been
yeah.
doing.
So like, I guess once we left the tour, like COVID kind of happened,
Oh yeah.
and I was just like, I don't know what to do. So, and like you were saying on the tour, I was kind of like teaching myself how to write, because I was like seeing all these artists I admired and watching y'all do it, and I was like, man, this is like, seems really rewarding for these artists who are able to like tap in like that. So I was like, shit, maybe I should give it a try. Um, Never used any of the stuff I showed y'all because it ended up just being horrible. But
I I think you should. I never throw away old projects. Like, go back now and, like, maybe some. I think a lot of times you can say, like, I'm gonna throw out some of the lyrics, but maybe the melodies are good. Don't underestimate old ideas. That's all I'm gonna say.
right. Right. Um, but I you have to write a couple weird ones to get to the
Yeah,
good
yeah,
stuff.
yeah. You got to sift through the. Yeah.
Yeah. So I did that. Started the I guess my band Cowboy Mugshot is what I go by.
Yep.
Um, and it kind of just like blew up on the internet a little bit, and so then I moved to Nashville with all the boys, and tried to figure it out. That's where I am now. Played shows, did all that, earned the new respect for singers because I was like, oh shit, I'm supposed to talk now. People are looking at me. What? How do I move? Like I started over analyzing
Oh yeah.
everything I was doing.
It's
Um,
easy to look cool. I mean, I'm not saying it's easy. I mean, you did look cool for a drummer, but I'm saying like drummers, like, as long as you're into it and you're doing your thing, like it inherently is cool.
oh
Like
yeah, you
you
can
have a
hide
lot of,
back there for sure.
yeah. But being front and center, what was your first experience of that? Like where was it and when was it?
So my first ever time singing in front of anyone was at this place called the Basement, and it's a pretty well known place here. It's like a small place, and I guess whoever was going on after me was showcasing. So there was like three labels there, and I was just shitting my pants. Because the guy representing me at the time was like, "Hey, no pressure, but there's three labels here." I'm like,
Why
"Why
do
would
they
you
always
tell me
do
that?"
that? Why do they
Yeah,
do
I
that?
know. I was like, "I've never sang before. Tell them to go outside." Like,
Yeah, yeah.
but I did well, and it was like a little acoustic thing with Will and Dylan. And since then, we kind of just like pieced the band together to be what it is now, and it's really strong. And I feel super confident in just like my everyday life, just from being vulnerable on stage and having to be vulnerable and talk to people. I'm usually quiet, so like I was like, all right, I have to learn how to do this. I have to, and it helps.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and since that, I guess like as of like 2 days ago, Will and I just got an apartment in LA.
Oh,
Um,
very interesting.
yeah.
So you're
So
going to LA when everybody else is fleeing from LA. Like that's been a
yes.
trend over the last everybody like, the stereotype is that everybody's like left for Austin or Nashville or wherever. But you guys are going in. Now you guys are going in.
Yeah, cheap rent because everyone's leaving. So I was like, I'm gonna capitalize on this.
Fuck yeah, dude, it
Uh,
goes in cycles, I'm sure. Like you're ahead of your time, I'm sure on that. Like weirdly enough, as weird as that sounds to say it out loud, but moving back to LA right now is probably ahead of its time.
yeah, there's a small like, or I wouldn't say small, but there's a growing underground scene for like rock bands, like full guitars, drums, everything.
That
Whereas like
adds up, yeah.
yeah, where it's like the opposite in Nashville. We've had like a very difficult time even getting shows because we're loud and we have amps, and it's like confusing to people who are like pop acts. So like yeah, we had to figure that out and like learn to make our set malleable for who we were playing with. To where it's like if we get thrown a grunge show, it's like all right, let's turn the fuzz up. If we
Yeah.
get thrown like a pop-ish act, I got to pull from my back catalog and tame it down a little just so I could fit with these people. But I kind of got tired of having to be something else, and so I was like, all right, let me just go to a place where they'll accept that and love it. And to me, in my experience, that's been LA so far.
I mean, I think if you find yourself, I think if you find, I mean, granted, I don't think one has to be like a diva about things, of course, but I think if you find yourself in a position where you have to constantly compromise, like your sound for the audience, that starts, even if it's not that, it starts to feel like, are we a band or are we a cover band? Like, are we here to like do our shit or are we here to like try to impress this audience? You know what I mean? And I think like anywhere, like if that's what was going on in Nashville, where it was like you felt that it was, if you felt this like strong need, which I can imagine, by the way, like, and I would do the same thing, but it tells you just I think it tells you something about the actual atmosphere you're in. Like sometimes the problem, and that's what I'm realizing in my life sometimes, is like the problem is not always you. I mean, we can all grow and do better, right? But sometimes the problem is like you're just in the wrong fucking environment. And clearly that's the way you guys have felt. But how so did you have you been going back and forth to LA uh quite a bit before this, or was it just kind of like we're taking a leap and just doing it?
Yeah, I think every year since like 2019 we go to LA to record,
Yeah.
and then like New York to just like hang out and check out food and stuff. So like we've kind of been everywhere where it's happening. every year for a long
Good, dude.
long stay. So like I just love the environment and the sun and the beach and the mountain, like everything that LA has. I'm just like totally about. And they just seem more accepting too. I don't know what it is. There's a lot of I guess what I would maybe just like jump to a conclusion is like a lot of people in Nashville are like really desperately hungry and they feel like they're fading. To whereas LA is like there's no age to success and everything's an opportunity and everyone works really hard. And I like that.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting. No, I can totally imagine that, and I do feel like I've always gotten the sense like I have younger cousins. I mean, it's just anecdotal, you know. Obviously, we have people that we have industry friends and whatever, but I think the most interesting people are the people that are like not actually plugged into industry and they're just like of a certain generation or whatever. But I have younger cousins that it's felt like even for years that you know when I talk to them and like look at what they're listening to and what they're doing, it's like because my one of my cousins actually has kind of started to get into songwriting and doing this kind of stuff, and it's very like rock, it's very rock and very rock influenced and like pure kind of rock and roll kind of stuff. Well, whatever you want to call rock and roll, I think like I didn't know until I mean the last time that we were in Minnesota and talking to them, it felt like there was like a big like Deftones resurgence happening in LA and stuff like that, which you know, I mean, I'm not surprised by it, but I think that kind of tells you something a little bit, right? Uh, I don't have my like finger in the soup or whatever, but it feels to me like it checks out. It makes sense why you would feel drawn to LA at this time. I do think that the soup is correct. It sounds right, you know. But how is the so you got an apartment there. Are you there now? Are you now
Uh,
you're there permanently or are you still like transitioning?
I'm currently for like the past 2 days just been boxing shit up and
Yeah,
planning how we're gonna drive there.
gotcha.
We should probably get there on like New Year's Eve.
Oh, that's
Um,
romantic. That's kind of a
I,
romantic little like
I
destiny there,
know.
right? And then you get to start the new year completely in a new
Yeah,
place.
you're the horse, so I'm
Fuck
excited.
yeah, dude.
Exactly.
Yeah, I heard that this was the year of the snake, and then we're going into the year of the horse. Is I just saw that on a fucking Instagram post. Is that correct? I have no idea.
I think so.
Whatever that even means, but yeah, let's do it, dude. Fucking
Forward progression.
yeah, yeah. Hoofing it, and also
Exactly.
interesting. How was your so you were doing some recording sessions these past what week? This past week?
Mm. Yep.
How did it go, and what are you working on, and where's your headspace on the whole thing?
Went really well. It's so like I've been pushing myself to make more timeless music, in the sense of just a classic that you can sit down with an acoustic and like I could play it for you in the living room and you're like, I get it. Um,
I think
yeah,
that's a wise instinct. Yeah.
yeah. A lot of my earlier stuff, since I didn't have a band, I was producing it all on my phone and making beats and then re-recording it, like as you were seeing the process. And I kind of like was limiting myself to like how intelligent my writing could be because on some of the beats I was making, it just called for a certain type of energy. And as I've matured and have grown, and the more I read and study, uh, my lyrics just have changed, and I just am like craving guitars and just real shit that I can just roll up to a gig, plug in, and play. So like all this stuff has been, kind of Goo Goo Dolls, Smashing Pumpkins, esque music. I'm excited to send you some stuff when it's
Yeah, dude.
listenable.
I'm excited to hear it.
But yeah, it's really cool to see like my progression starting from literally nothing at 25, never sang in my life.
Yeah.
Um, so it's really exciting to like literally see and hear that, and it's funny too to like you say, go back to old stuff, and I'm like, damn, what was I doing? Oh, that was cool,
Yeah,
stuff like
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Um,
I think you got to keep the past self as something that is not dead. I think a lot of times people like, especially I think artists and whatever, you can get into this thing of like thinking. I mean, I personally don't, but I see it a lot where it's like people think like, well, this idea was me at a certain time, and it makes me think about all these things, and I'm not that person anymore. And it's like, yeah, but that person is still in you. It's like saying that your inner child is no longer in you. Like, so you don't have to throw the baby out with the bathwater. I think it's like I personally get excited. Like, my process is that I work on ideas that are 5, 6, 7 years old. I work on ideas that are 6 months old, and when I go back to a project that's like 5, 6 years old or whatever, sometimes even older, and if there's something in there that I'm like, woo, what the fuck, that was good, and then I have like all these ideas for things that I could do differently that I would never have thought of then. It's kind of like, it's almost like a little bit of a it's kind of a good therapy, because it's basically like I'm integrating that version of me back into the present, and we're reconnecting, and I'm collaborating with myself over a period of time. And I think that can be a very helpful way to like look at this stuff, so that you don't accidentally like disregard old ideas. I mean, at the very least, I think there's more to it than that also, like on a spiritual level or psychological level. But just even practically speaking, you know, you have ideas that are good, but maybe they just, you weren't mature enough to actually see it through in the way that you should. So, and there's also like, it's a little bit of a cheat code, because there's also this thing of like, sometimes people, feel, and there's some truth to that. Like, man, I don't feel the same way that I did when I was 21 or 22 or 25 or whatever. And it's almost like I don't have to have some young guy come up with ideas for me. I can go back to young Cole and say like, what were you thinking about? And then I get the privilege of stealing his shit, because he's me. So yeah, that's my rant on that. But
That's a
yeah,
cool perspective, actually.
I don't know. That's just what I tell myself anyway about this stuff. But I like old ideas, and I think like, I just remember. I think partly why I'm saying this is, I remember being on the bus with you and hearing some of the stuff that you were doing then, and yeah, I'm sure that like, if we were gonna sit there and like scrutinize everything, I'm sure we'd have notes or whatever. But I remember feeling, and Espressa did too, like, yeah, no, this is good. Like, this has serious potential. So, you know, go back to it. But yeah, I would love to hear the new stuff. And how's Will doing? Because yeah, I guess he's been with you, like he's been the tightest with you on this whole the journey since then, right? Like,
Yeah, Will's been with me the whole time. He was always a bass player,
yeah,
and I kind of figured out that he was like a monster guitar player, just super humble, and never spoke up about it because Dylan was doing most of my stuff, and then he got a monster gig and was gone the whole time. And I was like, dang, but happy for him. And Will was like, oh, I can play guitar, and then figured out he was like a bluegrass guy when he was a kid. And
that's crazy, dude.
yeah, so I was like, you're never touching a bass ever again, sorry. And now he's like a freak on guitar, and I love that. And he's stoked about it, and we co-write everything together,
That's
and
fantastic.
he just understands what I'm on, and I understand what he's on, to where like in the studio we don't even talk, really. We just give each other like a look, and he's like, oh yeah, that's hot. And I'm like, record that right now.
I love it. I love it. So let me ask you this then, on a psychological, political sort of level on this. Um, I would have thought, I like, from the outside, I would have thought Cowboy Mugshot is a solo project where you have your friends backing you up and helping you out and stuff like that. But you've referred to it more like a band, and since you guys are also co-writing and stuff like that, like, and I don't want to get you into trouble here or anything like that. I just mean, like, in all honesty, like, do you see it as a solo project where Will is like a co-writer and backing you up, or do you see it as like a band where you are like the front man of the band? Like, what, like, and maybe you felt differently at the beginning, and maybe you feel differently now, but like, what do you think of it as?
Yeah, that's a great question, because like it's kind of both, to where I am the image of Cowboy Mugshot, so yes, it is me, and I guess it could be viewed as a solo thing, but like I do have my core bands now to where like I would never call myself Cowboy Mugshot or like say I'm Cowboy, you know, like I'm like we are.
Right.
It's kind of like I can't do it without them.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of aware of that.
At the beginning, were you more like I'm Cowboy Mugshot, and then
Yeah,
it
for
switched
sure.
to like, yeah, yeah,
For
interesting.
sure. And because like I was a little more cocky and, you know, moving out to Nashville where everyone's incredible, it was humbling. And I kind of learned my weaknesses in a positive way to where Will can pick up those pieces. And I'm not a big chord guy. Will is like has perfect pitch and knows what a song needs to lift in a chorus. And then I found my drummer who it took me a long time to find because I'm a drummer and I'm really picky.
Yeah.
And yeah, and the guy's like we're like best friends and we're in business together and he speaks drums and he came from a background working with Rick Rubin as an engineer. So like anything that can go wrong on stage or in life, the both of them can handle. So I'm like, yeah, these are my guys. Like we are Cowboy Mugshot. So like I'm for sure like aware that I cannot do it and I don't want to do it without them.
Gotcha. No, I like that. That's interesting. It was very. I didn't know I was curious about that until talking to you now. I hadn't really thought about it, but that's really interesting. And speaking of in business together, you mentioned something about that you like. Do you want to talk about that? Like
Sure.
the you mentioned something about what was it, vintage music equipment or something like that. When you say, are you saying that the drummer guy, your drummer that you found, is he also with you in that?
Yes.
Gotcha. So that's what.
So like I was in like a weird spot in my life when he like came in, he was like, I'm coming over, get out of bed, we're making money, I don't care. Like I know you know stuff about drums. I'm taking advantage of that, whether you like it or not.
That's a good
And
friend though, dude. Like, fuck, I wish
seriously,
I had somebody like just waking me up in the morning and being like, "It's time to get your shit together."
seriously, yeah, I got like I had a situationship that broke off and I was just kind of crushed and he's like, fuck that. I'm coming over every day at 9 a.m. and we're gonna do this. Because
Nice.
he already runs like a guitar, the guitar side of it, so he knows all the vintage stuff about that and where to find them and getting them fixed. And then once we started talking, he realized that I had a vast knowledge of vintage drums because of my pops. And so we'll find them and then I'll take them apart, clean them up, get them right, and then we sell them. So that's kind of what we've been doing, and it's fun because like I sold a kit to someone in New York. I have another kit in my living room right now that I'm shipping to like Taiwan. Um, so it's just like kind of like a cool thing I never thought you
Yeah.
know would be paying the bills, so I can like be able to do music.
It's kind of perfect also because, I mean, it also, it's not something, obviously it's in the same realm, and you still, it it by itself has the potential to create magical weird synchronicities and shit, right?
100%.
Like you said, some guy in New York. I mean, you could sell drums to somebody who happens to be like, whatever, and weird shit can happen. Whereas, if you're working in some other field to support the dream, it can feel like the odds of anything synchronistic and miraculous happening for my dream in this, bill paying thing is minuscule. But with what you're doing, it's like it's totally it's totally in sync with the whole thing. So that's fucking cool, man.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
Um, I don't know, why do I feel like I'm interviewing you?
I know. I was about to
This
say,
feels
tell
weird.
me
Why am
what
I
you guys
doing
got
this,
going.
man?
What have y'all been
I
into?
feel
Like,
so awkward. Okay, I don't feel awkward, but I don't know. I went into interview mode, which is interesting. I do have a lot of questions about what you've been up to. I think that's what that is. Uh, well, I don't know, man. Just like we're in a weird situation because we're like it's kind of the opposite problem, which is like it's a good problem to have, but it's where you don't ever have to do any other thing, but then you still like it's almost like I think of it as like that everybody's soon going to be living, everybody's soon going to encounter the same problem that we've had once we have like universal basic income, you know? Like where it's like I think a lot of people we as humans we derive a lot of purpose from having to kind of make ends meet and like struggle and whatever. And we're not like super rich or anything, but I'm just saying that like we can live like a normal, you know, we can just live a normal life and not have we don't actually have to really do much because of you're somebody else, you know, like and that's a whole nother conversation because we only make that's I wish I could tell you about this another time, but it's like the RCA deal, you know, I mean, we get about we end up netting about 10% of what that song makes, and it's enough to live on, which tells you how well the label is doing. But you know, you live and learn. You live and learn
Right.
about those things. But it's sort of like I have an opposite problem where like because I don't have to do anything else, I go down like weird fucking rabbit holes and I'm like I've got like 50 projects that I'm working on and things that are, you know, like it almost is like I find it hard sometimes to even like maintain like I mean when you don't have somebody telling like when you don't have any external pressures really other than like maybe if you want to accomplish things or you know like obviously I care about artistic output and I care about like sh- sharing things with fans or people or the world or whatever, but it's not like it's different from actually having to uh like XYZ needs to happen for me to be able to do XYZ. It's more so then you have this opposite thing where you're like you start saying no to everything because you're like I don't really have to do it. Like I'm going to lose money if I tour. I'm just going to lose money. So it's like why, you know, then the only reason to tour is literally because you want to go play music live, but I get a lot of anxiety about that. Like I personally feel like very anxious doing the whole tour thing. I'm sure you remember. Like you know, that's why I drank a lot on tour and stuff like that. Is I guess I didn't really drink as much as a lot of people, but I mean, you know, why we were shotgunning beers and whatnot is I find the whole thing very stressful. You know, even though I like being on stage, I find it stressful to have people around me all the time, like because I want everybody to be happy. I don't want people to be upset. This is partially why I look back and feel regrets about things like because I don't want to be you know I don't want people to walk away from like when we're in charge and it's around us. I want everybody to feel good about it. And that's impossible. You know, like that's an impossible standard because everybody's got their own lives, their own agendas, their own goals, purposes, things that bother them. You know, it's almost like a control thing in a way, but it's like I'm not trying to control people for my own ends. It's more like I wish that I could control the situation so that everybody felt good, and it's not really feasible. And even if it is feasible, I don't really know if it's true that everybody feels good. So I have anxiousness about do people really feel good about it? And so I don't know, man. It's been a little bit weird. Like we kind of just get to do whatever we want, and and that's on its own. And I think you will maybe someday feel this way. I think a lot of people are going to feel this way in the near future if AI keeps taking everything over. But it's like it is interesting when you have to when you have to provide your own structure, purpose, motivation, and uh, you know, devoid of sort of certain types of external pressure. Um, Sorry to get really philosophical on you, but that's just I
Not
don't.
at all.
It's just a thing. Yeah, it's just a thing. Um, uh, yeah. All right, you got to save me here, dude. I'm.
Yeah, I feel the same way now that like I'm kind of taking that on too. It's like it's really exposing
Yeah.
to have to like, you know, you're like, okay, I'm literally living with myself and people are seeing it in real time. And like I I would say I had like a massive just life altering like internal like what the fuck because like it kind of
When was
just
this? How recently?
uh, I would say about a year ago.
Okay.
I took a year off because I was like, I don't know if I know myself, and I went and worked on a farm and didn't talk to
Oh,
anybody.
interesting.
And the songs I'm putting out now, I put two out, and I have like three more I wrote on the farm. I was just shoveling shit and taking care of sheep, and I just had time to think about myself and who am I, who are my friends, what am I doing, what do I want to do, and how am I going to do that? Because I was just like kind of just trying to be like other people and and I just knew what I saw and I didn't know how to be myself, like we kind of touched on. And playing on stages kind of brought that all to the surface, and also writing about my personal experiences and having to like hear people criticize that in like a formulaic way of business was like really shocking to me, and I wasn't ready for that.
Yeah, yeah, that's
um
really hard. That's really fucking hard.
yeah,
Especially
because
when
they're
you
like,
feel like you're like, well, who the fuck are you to say?
right.
Like, what do you know? You know?
Right. It's like I can't change the life experience, so how am I supposed to change the song to fit how you
Yeah,
want to hear it?
yeah. Oh, it's the most frustrating thing to hear. Even if somebody has a point, it's like still like
Right.
it seems like more often than not when people intervene from on high, like this the classic like the suits thing. It feels like every time you look in history, it's like the story is always that those people make it worse. I mean,
Yeah.
most of the time. I mean, occasionally not. Like, to be fair, like sometimes in film or whatever, you'll see that like sometimes the studio saves something that was going off the rails or whatever. But I just don't understand that. Like, that's one of the things that I remember thinking about, like with RCA, where they would try to like do things where I'm like, do you guys not know anything about the history of music? You guys sound like the bad guys in the story. Like you're telling us to do this, and I'm telling you that that doesn't make any sense for this reason. And this is what always happens. Like you don't listen to the artist, and then this that you know. I don't understand how it's so hard to get that message across to the people that are in that role. Like they have a role, right? And they can do a really good job in their role, but when people who have no, very little artistic sensibility start commenting on, specifics, or sound or tempo or like whatever, it's like, why would I trust you over myself about this? Like, what
Right.
gives you the extra qualification? And
Yeah.
most of the time, like those people, like when you look at what they have under their belt, it's something that they didn't really have any hand in guiding anyway. It's like the thing that got them there is seeing something in some band where that band or that artist did their own fucking thing. And then they got to go along for the ride, like, So the idea that like you get to be in that position and then all of a sudden you're going to start dictating or trying to give advice about artistic stuff is it is a tough pill to swallow. I'll just leave it at that. But
Yeah. I had
yeah.
to I had to also kind of just come to the terms that like I am a business. So
Mm.
like I also had to put that hat on of understanding that yes, this is art. Yes, this is my life, but also it's like I'm selling something
Yeah.
and I have to promote it, and so I had to like put myself in the shoes of those people who are like you got to do these things. But at the same time, I realized that all the suits or whatever here in my experience were kind of like, I wouldn't say failed musicians, but like they wanted to be rock stars and then just kind of came to the conclusion that it wasn't for them. So they want to be involved in what you're doing. They want to tell you something so they can seem cool, or, oh, I know tempo, I know chords, which is awesome. I love that for
Yeah.
them,
Yeah.
but it's like,
Yeah.
but it can be really frustrating when you're like, did you go to music school and have you toured the country multiple times? No. So, like, what do you know? You haven't
Bro,
experienced
I
heartbreak.
don't even care if they've been to music school, but just can you show me what you've written and then can I listen to it?
Right.
Oh, okay. Well, in some cases, they have written stuff, and then you're listening to it and you're like, oh, so this person's giving me feedback. Interesting. This is
Yeah, it's in a way they want your validation, even though they're like in control, which is really, it's a really strange thing.
that's interesting. That is
Uh,
interesting.
yeah, they want you to listen to them, and they are trying to make you listen to them so that they feel good about it.
Yes. and then the problem is that you have to pretend it's good.
Right, right. Because they're holding a bag of cash and they're like, yes, change the tempo. And you're like, yes, one click up.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Exactly. Oh man. Yeah, it's weird. And the thing is like the funny thing about all this, of course, and I'm sure you probably feel the same way in a lot of ways, is like the honest feeling that I had, that me and Espresso I think both had, working with like the quote unquote suits and all this kind of shit, is like I think in general I think we were sort of lucky. Like I don't necessarily think we ever really came across or had to actually work with any like true like sharks or anything like that. I think people genuinely in that position oftentimes really, I think they mean well. I don't think they're in a position where they're trying to be like a fucking, I mean, even if they have unconscious things about like I wanted to be an artist and then it didn't work out and so now I'm this. I do think in general, like our experience has been, those people like they think they're helping, so we got to at
Yes,
least give them that.
a hundred
They
percent. I totally agree.
but then sometimes you also feel that, like sometimes what frustrated us back in the day was like feeling that sometimes people just want to make a edit, like they want to give a note so that something changes so that they can feel like they did something. And
Right.
that's also like, nah. We're not going to just take the drums out of the first chorus so that you feel like you contributed. That's I don't I don't think that's how this is supposed to work. You know what I mean? Like, and sometimes you really sense that, like, where it's like, well, if and then they get to like put their name on.
Yeah, and they're like, "Oh, executive produced, give me a point."
Yeah, exactly. Funny thing is, did we ever tell you guys like we did Missing Home? That the only time that we ever worked with a co-producer up till now even was on Missing Home, and we worked with Mike Elizondo. Did we ever talk to you about that? Or like I don't remember, but
Not
yeah,
sure.
he had like a big resume or whatever, and the label was really pressuring us to like they said it would probably be good to work with a producer on something, just try it and blah blah blah, and we were like okay. And I was in my mind thinking like it would be great if I could offload production responsibilities on somebody, like if we got somebody who really knew how to fucking take this all the way. I was willing to accept that maybe I had it at like 75% and somebody was going to take it to 100 or whatever. Totally open minded to that. And so I was like, this guy seems pretty good. This seems cool because he's like, they really wanted to put us with like alternative rock guys, and we kind of we weren't sure about that because we were like, well, we're not 21 Pilots, you know what I mean? Like we're on alternative radio, but we're not an alternative rock band per se. But they wanted to do that, and Mike Elizondo kind of split the difference because he also did like some hip hop stuff. Like he's got some Eminem credit or I don't know, whatever, something like that, some Dr. Dre type connection thing. And so we went in there like I was just expecting like, man, he's gonna completely like take this song and fucking like it's gonna be something totally different, and I'm gonna be totally sold on it. That's gonna be great. High hopes, right? High hopes. And then we go in there and I play him my demo, which is like pretty well fleshed out, but it just needs like a verse two and whatever and da da da. And and we're sitting there, and over time, as we're working on it, he's like, well, maybe we can increase the tempo a little. And I was like, yeah, that's probably true. It could probably be increased. Like I tend to write things a little slower. Like, yeah, that makes sense. And then he was like, "Hey, play the project again. Like, can you open up the project? And I'm opening up the project, and he's like, "What's that? What's that going on in there?" And I was like, "Oh, this is this synth thing that I did or whatever." And he's like, "Okay, can you fly that out? Can you bounce that out?" And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, for sure." And then he was like, "Oh, I love this thing. Can you bounce that out? Can you fly that out?" The end result of all this was basically that he basically took everything from my production and just the only thing that he really contributed was saying to speed it up. And I mean, I re-recorded the guitar, we re-recorded the vocals, but then he took all this shit from my project, which I was expecting would be replaced, because I'm like, I mean, I'm expecting a guy to come in and totally reproduce everything. Because to me, this was like, this is what a producer does, is like reimagines and rethinks and like brings something fresh to the table. And the fucking guy didn't. He basically took everything that I had already done and kind of slapped his name on it. And after that, I was like, I said to the label, I was like, dude, first of all, I don't ever want to have that experience again because that was fucking lame. And we had to pay like I think on our label debt, it was for that LA studio for those 2 days or whatever. I think it was something crazy like $50,000 or some stupid.
Jesus.
Whereas like we would remember me and Espresso would record in the KOA cabins and shit like that. Like you know how it goes.
Right.
You don't need
Right.
that. You don't really
Yeah.
need that. If you want that or if you have your own situation, like I don't know what you're doing when you're in LA, but like but fucking paying for like some top tier fucking, $300 an hour thing so that a guy can take all of your ideas and just like speed them up. It felt a little ridiculous. But we actually had to even after that, it was like they were like, well, Mike Elizondo produced it, and we were like, nah, no, he didn't. That's a co-production. We had to basically go back and forth and fight with this guy, so that it didn't say just produced by Mike Elizondo, so it became like a Cole Spressa Mike production. But I'm just saying, like, I think what I'm trying to say in all this is that there's so much of this weird like shenanigan. There's so much of these weird shenanigans that take place in this business where people they have a reputation or they have some resources or they have some kind of whatever and then they phone it in to get their little piece of the pie, or they do this like you just get a lot of I don't maybe it's like this in every business, I don't know, but it's just like there's a lot of leeches, man.
100%.
As long
And
as
it's good.
as long as there's blood to suck.
Right. They'll be there.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it's good that y'all are confident to stand your ground because there's a lot of people who would just like be like, "Oh yeah, that we're paying for a big name," and then they don't get credited and they lose a fuck ton of money, and then they're like, "Damn!" Like after they do math of like what they would have made, they're like, "Shit, I wish I would have said something." So it's like good on you to be like, "No, all I did was airdrop you stuff and you raised the tempo. Like, what are we doing here?"
Yeah, we actually forced him to do something. We were like, dude, you got to come up with something for this song. I mean, we said it in a nice way, but we were basically like, because he was like, yeah, there's something, and this now I got to give him some credit here. I can't be fully, dogging on this guy. He said like it needs something here, and then we were like, okay, well, you have to come up with the something because his also a lot of these producers, which is whatever's fair enough, but just for the act of producing, they want songwriting credit, which is it's a more modern thing, and so we're like, well, if you're gonna be the first person ever to get co-writing credit on a Flora Cash song, so maybe you should write something. And we didn't say it like that, but and then he came up with the like he came up actually with that like oh that like post chorus and missing a
Right.
voice. But it's also like it's pretty generic, you know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
I mean I'm just saying like that's one of the most generic parts of that song, but that was his actual like that's where he earned his writing credit. So I'll give him that. I'll give him that. Yeah, I just had to mention that.
There's a lot of that in Nashville actually, and I'm sure you're aware of it, is like the unspoken law here is everyone in the room gets an equal percent of publishing if
Yeah,
you're
that's
doing a
that's
session.
I think from the time that we got into the business, like we're because we kind of came up in like the Stockholm world, and I remember like 12 years ago that was pretty much a standard here as well, to be honest. Because Stockholm is like the home of Max Martin and that whole like the factory songwriting kind of deal, the which
Right.
I by the way I respect. I love Max Martin personally, but it is like that sort of assembly line kind of songwriting thing. So what do you think about that though? What do you think about the like everybody in the room and all this kind of shit? Like, what's your thoughts about that?
If I love everyone in the room, it doesn't bother me. But I,
If
you
somebody
know,
just walks in and sits down, it's kind of annoying, right?
yeah, because like I've been in rooms where it's like there's just a guy in the corner, and then I see they're written in 20% on the publishing, and I'm like, I was like, I recall them not doing anything.
Sounds like
Um,
a fucking cuck, dude. Just sitting in
yeah,
the corner watching everybody else make the music.
yeah, or like whoever's engineering it gets a percentage and they didn't do anything, even though
No, I
like
find that's weird. That's
it's
weird.
still like a demo to me. if that's because like I trust my producer, so it's like I don't need it.
Exactly,
Like
exactly.
I would rather just like take a video of us singing it on an acoustic and then fuck that guy respectfully. Um, so like I'm more of like the LA split to where it's like, if someone did something, they deserve it.
Yeah.
And let's write it in.
Yeah, and then
Will
you
and
can also like have a real honest conversation about like what extent, right? Like you should be able to say like, "Hey, I don't know. This is weird because egos get involved, but like you should be able to say like, "Hey man, how's 10% sound for your fucking one word that you came up with?" But I guess maybe like in the LA sense, like do you still find yourself having to default to kind of equal splits amongst actual collaborators, or do you think like there's a place for, hey, is it just too weird to say that to people maybe, like where you're like, 15 for you, 40 for
yeah,
me.
I personally don't mind saying that kind of thing because it's like my life and my work. So it's like I'm gonna speak up, if something weird's going on. But I kind of stopped riding with people unless I personally bring them in. So that's like to me, it's my decision. I want them to have something before we even do anything because I respect them as a rider. To whereas like when I first moved here, I was probably doing like 4 or 5 sessions a week with strangers, and they kind of were just like, "You look like MGK," so everything is MGK sounding. I was like, I don't like this, um, and then I don't even own it, and so then it turned into, well, bring in your demos, and then I'd bring in a fully done song, and we'd retrack it, and it would sound worse, and then they're like, well, I want 40% of this. I'm like, for what?
Nah, man.
Um,
Fuck that, dude. God, that would piss me off. See, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. That shit is fucking infuriating, and it doesn't make you greedy and it doesn't make you whatever. Like, people have this weird way of like spinning this stuff so that it's like, it sounds bad, like, but no, what sounds bad is trying to like scrape the cream off the top of my fucking coffee, dude. Like, what are you doing?
right. Yeah.
Why? Why are you doing that? But I get it though also, like, I mean, fuck, man, there's only so many. I mean, I think there's a certain, and there's also like it's also this thing about like when you think about like psychology and how there's a shadow side to one's psychology. Like, you got to integrate the shadow, right? For every kind of like leech that is just trying to scrape the cream off the top, there's also like the reason that exists is because there is actually an established relevant uh um useful role that actually does exist there, which there are people that make whole careers off of a part of something, and they actually bring real value. Like some people literally have that ability. Like I guarantee you that if you go to like Max Martin's little song factory, those people that are getting a cut for like just fixing some of the words here and there, they are actually making that song better.
Right.
They're,
Right.
they're not just like, he's not going to surround himself with people that, even if they have a small role, are just basically getting their name on the track. Everybody there is going to serve a purpose. So that's like, I think that really can be a real thing, but more often than not, people aren't that. You know what I mean? Like it's so it may, in principle, it's fine. Like in principle, there is a role for somebody that's like, they just have this magical ability to like fix something just by making it 5% better. But I think there's a lot of people who think they're that, and actually they're just, making a career off of like just scrimping the cream off the top or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's hard to know the difference. And
Right. And I'm glad, like I'm kind of at a point to where I view negative things all positively because like
that's good.
if that happened, now I know. Now I know
Yeah.
what to look for, so it doesn't happen
Oh,
again. So I view that as like, I'm strengthening my armor and my confidence in being like, you didn't do anything, or oh, this person said one word and it really changed the song. I
Yeah.
respect that. And knowing when to acknowledge when someone is helping,
Yes.
versus hurting instead of like, being a diva about it and being like, I would have got there eventually, you know?
Yeah. No, no, exactly. And you're totally right. And I need to also clarify, like, my primary focus in all this stuff is always what is actually fair. And that doesn't necessarily mean like I benefit the most. It means like what is actually fair. And sometimes, as you say, like, in your heart, like, and I think you have to be honest with yourself. Sometimes somebody changing one word is worth equal split. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, yeah, you don't just get, that actually materially changed the whole vibe of this song just by you doing that. And I think it's fair. I believe that it's fair that you get properly compensated for that. And I think that's very important. Like, you have to have always an eye to fairness. But I guess where I was coming from in the beginning was just like, you got to be fair to yourself too. And sometimes, we're forced, or we feel forced or compelled or pressured to compromise what is also fair to ourselves, in hopes of, not rocking the boat or whatever. But yes, people should be, things should be as fair as possible. Especially if it is like a genuine like team effort or whatever. Like, but when you guys are in LA recording, have you guys been going to the same spot? Do you have like a friend or something out there? Is that
Yes. So I've only recorded with the same guy. And it's been funny to like see him progress as well. Cause like we started in his living room on a laptop, and then he moved, and then now we had a studio room, and now he has like a converted garage soundproofed with all live stuff. So it's like
fucking
this,
awesome?
yeah, this last time like we recorded everything instead of like just programming and triggering and stuff like that, which I'm all for, but it was like cool to be able to like be like have the option at
Yeah,
least.
yeah, yeah.
um which is cool, and it's like a better quality when you're capturing shit with high quality mics instead of like just the Billie Eilish mic. Um, yeah, we've upgraded a little bit from a 58,
What is the bill? So does she use like she uses a Shure?
the
It's a Shure, right?
SM7B,
The SM.
right?
It's one of those. Yeah, yeah. Like the
Yeah,
podcast mic, kind of.
yeah, exactly. I love those. I just got tired of everyone using the same thing because to an extent you started to recognize the sound of that mic.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, give me something with a tube in it. Let's get something that's panned hard left and right from some like, couple $1,000 microphones that the Beatles used or something. Like that shit's cool to me.
Agreed. And if it's not going to be that, like, let's just I mean, you can also go the extreme other direction and, like, fucking track to an iPhone or something like that. I've seen people do that, but
I have
uh
used stuff from like my vocal takes
yeah,
on
yeah,
Apple
yeah.
headphones. If it's a vibe, we'll throw it in
Exactly.
there.
Yeah, because like sometimes you just capture something. It's like I will not even attempt to do that again because I was in a headspace where it just happened and I would never do that. I couldn't, I couldn't replicate my voice that way. So it's like then you really realize how important like the actual performance is over the medium. You know what I mean? Like, but still, it is nice to have things tracked on a good mic, and then you do hear your voice in a different way. Like, as much as I've resisted it, like our go-to that was always like our default was the TLM 102, the Neumann, the little one. Uh,
Hmm.
and then we ended up like years later, finally being able to get like a U87 AI, whatever. Is it AI? IA? I don't know what the fuck it is. It feels weird to say AI, but I think it is AI. U87 AI, which is like the iconic whatever. It's like the reboot of the iconic U87, blah blah blah. And I remember feeling like this was not worth it, you know.
Yeah.
But then sometimes when I would be sitting in the car and I'd be like, fuck, why does this sound so good? And I'd be like, oh shit. Yeah, I remember now. We tracked the vocal on this fucking expensive mic. But then on the other hand, like it worked better for my voice. For Spressa, I like when I would track her vocals on the U87, I had to do all kinds of plugins and shit to like make it not so harsh. It was
Hmm.
just like bringing out all the harshness, and then like bringing her back to the TLM 102, like it just works so good for her voice. So there's also like that's also a funny thing with mics, right? Like it's like sometimes depending on your voice, like you can have the most expensive mic in the world and it might not be a good fit. And you can have the
Right.
cheapest mic in the world and it might be like making you sound fucking great. So, it all depends. Um, but yeah, dude, so tell me about the latest situation. Got any
You
latest
said,
situation?
uh, no, uh, but I did have a great time in this past week with
Oh,
a lovely lady.
how much did
Uh,
she cost?
free.
What did she bleed you for? No, I'm kidding.
My heart.
Oh shit.
No, I'm
I
kidding.
know I set you up good for that actually.
You did.
Okay, so she bled you for your heart. Tell me if you don't mind sharing. Give me the. You don't have to get into all the saucy details, but
Sure, sure. No, I just met this cool chick. She's also an artist, which is a bonus for me because I love music, and model gorgeous, which is,
oh
yeah,
shit.
out of my range. But just showed me around LA. Had a little romantic night looking at shooting stars on like a little lookout thing.
Okay.
Held
Is this
hands.
is this one of
Yeah.
those chicks that like is this one of those chicks that's like gonna leave you wondering if she felt the same way, or is it like one of those ones where you're like, I know how she felt, or is it one of those things where you're like, it could develop into something, but I don't know how I feel and I don't know how she feels. Those are your three options.
Uh,
There's a fourth. I don't know.
it was just like it's I could see it going any of those routes because like we were just chilling and just having a good time, which is a breath of fresh air for me because like a lot of people here get serious really fast. And
Interesting.
this was, yeah, it's like that whole thing where people are like they think their clock is ticking, so they're like want to get wifed up and have a house and shit. And I just didn't date for a long time because of that. And this girl was just kind of just we didn't even talk, but we just had a good time. Went to a party in the hills, went to some clubs, and checked out a couple romantic spots and got brunch and just had a fun time. And no pressure, no nothing,
It's cozy.
just super chill. And if anything, I have like a super solid friend going into LA.
Yeah, yeah. That's a nice way of looking at it also. I like that idea that like one can kind of get there. Like, I think that's a very healthy and quite lovely thing, especially I think when you're single, is like this idea that you can kind of mildly, I'm not gonna say fall in love, but you can kind of like, you can kind of be a little bit on the periphery of that, and then sort of still have that vibe of like, but maybe this is just a start of a nice friendship. That's kind of
Yeah.
that's a beautiful little place to be, I think. Like that kind of like that teeter tot between Eros and uh what is it? Eros and Philos or something like that, or what is it? Whatever. Anyway, like romantic love versus friend love. It's kind of a fun little game that that there's a stage where things can be like that, and it sounds really nice. But you say she's a music artist then? So not when you say artist, you mean like she does music?
Yeah, like we'd be hanging out and she'd be like, "Oh, I have to take this meeting with this big label." And I'm like, "I don't
Yeah.
understand you."
Girl
So I'm just
boss energy was
yeah, I'm just like I'm just happy to be here. Like, where are we going?
interesting. Interesting.
Yeah.
So, but is she somebody that like has already established herself, or like,
I think
and what does that mean? I don't know, but like, does she have? I mean, is she brand new, or is she got some kind of thing going on?
she is established but still new.
Gotcha.
I think that's her perspective as well because I think she's setting up next year to like ground herself in the business so that then, tours can start happening and
Sure.
the business side can start happening. But it's just really cool to like just be a fly on the wall, even because like
Yeah.
I kind of and wiped my team out while going to LA. So I'm like looking for new management, looking for just new everything. So like hearing that, I'm kind of like, oh, that's a good thing to look for, or I didn't even know that was a thing. Um,
Yeah.
so like being in with like a tapped in person is kind of really cool to
Can I
just
ask
like,
how you came into contact with her? Like, how did that even happen?
yeah. So we were recording, and then a buddy of mine that I played a show with like 7 years ago, and then stayed internet friends with, was doing like a song release party in Silver Lake. So I told Will, I was like, we're fucking going to this. We drove like 2 hours because we were in Thousand Oaks, and it was 5 o'clock traffic. Rushed over there, made it in time, and we're still early somehow. That's my luck. So we just went in the
That's
back and it just like had a smoke and hanging out with drinks, and these two girls came over like, can we bother you? And I was like, please bother me. And then they just kind of like, we were the only people they knew and that we knew too, so like we just hung out the rest of the night. And then I was like, you mind showing us around the rest of the week? And they're like, absolutely. So then it just turned into like they were kind of like our roadmap for the cool shit during
that's
the week.
fucking awesome, dude. How
Yeah,
serendipitous and
I
beautiful.
know.
Fantastic.
It was perfect.
Um, yeah, that's fantastic, dude. All right. Should we do we have anything else we want to cover? Because it's 3:25 and I just wanted to at least get because I felt bad that we weren't able to talk at our scheduled time. I would like to talk to you again because I'm a little bit in like my late night. I knew that I was already staying up too late to do this like thing. Would love to talk to you again, but before we wrap it up, is there anything else that we want to talk about right now?
When's new music coming for you guys?
Uh
If you're allowed to talk
Well,
about
no,
it.
but we just put something out. So I had this thing where like I wrote a song a couple of years ago. Did you ever I don't know if you have you listened to our song Hi Dad, How's the Weather?
I don't think so. I may have heard pieces of it if you were working on
It
it,
doesn't
but
no, it doesn't matter if you have, but I'm just saying that like like I put it out there as like an unreleased song 2 years ago when I wrote it. And it like I have a weird background with my dad, which I don't want to get into right now because I don't have time. But it was like a very therapeutic whatever song, and I put it out there on like YouTube as like an unreleased thing a couple of years ago. I think I put it on TikTok also a little bit, and he like reached out and was kind of slightly offended by it, and it was a little bit weird. But I was like, I gotta just, my job is to just I make songs and I speak the truth, and it is what it is. Sorry that you feel that way about it. But I've always wanted to like put it out officially, so I decided to put it out like in the middle of December when it wouldn't get a lot of attention. And I haven't posted about it or anything because I'm just like I don't want to like ruffle any feathers or whatever. So, but we did just put out a song on the 12th of December, and similarly, we're gonna do. There's another song coming in kind of early in January. I'm sort of just thinking like now it's going again into this like sort of radical do whatever the fuck. Like, who's to say when a good time to release something is? Fucking just put it out there, dude. I've got like hundreds of songs that are still unreleased, and my you got to balance like you can't release something every fucking day on DSPs and stuff like that. But waiting too long means that by the like maybe when I'm 80, everything that we've ever worked on or written or are writing will be out. So it's like you got to kind of balance it. So I've been in this mode. Espressa, I mean, I'm kind of forcing her into this mode, but it's where my brain is at. Is like we need to release frequently so that it's just out there. But you can't release too frequently, and it's really hard to choose what to release when you have a lot of stuff that's basically done. Um, and yeah, this is what I'm struggling with. But the next song that we for sure know is going to come out is like January something, and Yeah, and we're working toward like our fifth album. So, and I don't know how much of what we're putting out now will actually be on an album. I don't know if what an album even means anymore. I don't know if it matters. I do like albums as bookmarks or snapshots or like a thing that you can go back to and kind of like you can soak it up as like one thing. And for me, it's like therapy. Like when I listen to, I've been going back and listening to our own albums, and I'm like, oh my God, this is way more relevant to me now than it was then, which is kind of a nice feeling. And I recommend as the future comes for you, going back to your old releases, especially if they meant something to you, and seeing like, do they give me a new insight on who I am and where I am now? Because that can be very enlightening and very interesting, you know. Uh, Damn, dude. Sorry, I'm
No,
waxing.
you're good. No,
I'm
yeah, I
waxing
do.
philosophical here, but
No, I do the same thing because sometimes I'll write shit and I don't even know what I'm talking about,
yeah,
and then I kind of just like accidentally manifest what I'm writing. So
yeah,
I kind
that's
of need to be
scary.
careful because I'll write something about a like past breakup, and I was like, oh, I guess that'll work, and then the exact thing I'm writing about happens. I'm like, fuck. Um, but yeah, I do go
Yeah,
back and I try to check it out because like sometimes more things just become relevant in the
yeah,
future.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. And a lot of times there's the seeds of, I mean, fuck, man, we've, a person. I think a lot of times, where our subconscious is like, even if we haven't ourselves directly experienced something, of course we've experienced other people experiencing it, and then like that's what Spress and I have always said is like how we sort of make sense of why thing like we write a lot of breakup songs. It just for some reason I don't really know why exactly, and the way that we always try to like make sense of that in our minds is that we're we don't even like when we talk about like when we write stuff together and then we like say that I'm singing. Espresso will be like, well, what is he talking about? Like, what is like we separate ourselves from like we sort of have this thing of like, well, yeah, but what is she trying to say to him? We're not saying like, what am I trying to say to you? It's like, what is he trying to say to her? We
Right.
have a little bit of this separation, but sometimes it still bites you in the ass where you're like, fuck, it was about us, and we basically manifested something, or we predicted something, or we like, you do have to, like you said, you do kind of have to be a little bit careful. I mean, I am, but at the same time, it's like, fuck it,
Right.
make the
Art is
music.
pain.
Art is
Art is
pain.
it's
And by the way, love
exposure.
love is suffering,
It
like,
is.
man, love is choosing to suffer on purpose
Yeah.
because it's finite, it's fragile, it's not forever, and it's beautiful and it's overwhelming. And yeah, I mean, if you don't want to suffer, you can go live on a mountain and become a Buddhist monk. But
Right.
what we're doing is we're in the business of embracing suffering
Hmm.
and trying to turn it into something beautiful.
Yep.
Suffering can be beautiful, and that's where art comes in, you know?
It is. And like I have people tell me they're like, you should write a love song. I'm like, I do. And they're like, it's all really depressing. I'm like, to me, a love song is yearning for a love you once had, not something that's current. That's just my perspective of my writing. Cause like to me, when you have something, you can be comfortable and you don't really necessarily know what you got going on. But like, every man like or when a boy becomes a man when they lose their first heartbreak because that's the day you learn what love is,
Mm.
because you lost it, and that's all of a sudden you're 16 writing poetry in your room and you're like,
Yeah,
oh fuck.
yeah.
And that's what it is to me, is like you lose something you care about, that's love. So it is what it is, and we have a blessed gift to be able to channel that into some shit that can help people who
Right.
don't know how to channel it or don't know what the fuck love is, or don't can't find the beauty in absence of somebody. But we were gifted to be able to take that, understand it, write it down, and transfer it to the masses.
Agreed, and very well said, sir. The one thing I will add to that is coming from the perspective of a guy slightly older than you, from a slightly different situation and whatever. Um, there's another sense of love in which there is there emerges this thing about grief for what cannot be. You see? Like
Hmm.
it's not always about like what has been. It's also about something that could be that is impossible. So I wish that for you one day. I wish that
Yeah. you
I wish that
know,
suffering for you one day so that you can write some great poems and so that you can write some great songs about it because let me tell you, man, it's a rough one. It's a rough one.
yeah. I always tell like any woman that comes in my life, I'm like, fuck me up so I can have another record, please.
I
I
like
need the
that.
suffering.
That fucking that's a good one. I really like that.
Yeah,
Fuck
so
me up
it's
so I
like
can
it's
have
a bit of a joke, but sometimes if your life becomes stagnant, it's just or if you have writer's block, it's because you're not living enough. And so sometimes you need to feel some shit to write some shit. And
Amen,
yeah.
brother. Amen.
Yeah.
And that's maybe why the artist is a little bit of a self-sabotaging, from the outside an artist can seem a bit self-sabotaging at times, but it's because uh actually, ironically, and here's a good little paradox, if you look around, a lot of times the people that don't self-sabotage um are self-sabotaging by not self-sabotaging. In other
Right.
words, like most of the world accepts stagnancy and safety, but that is like it's basically choosing a slow death over the potential for rebirth.
Hmm.
One thing we have to contend with in our lives is like at any given, especially over cycles, is like, am I going to slowly, like, if I'm in a situation, or if you're in a situation, if somebody's in a situation or whatever, where it's you're sort of like your parts of you are just kind of flying off, like you're slowly evaporating into the wind. Do you want to be slowly evaporating into the wind for the next 50 years? Or do you kind of want to say, I'm going to risk burning up now, but maybe I'm actually going to arise like a phoenix from the ashes? It's basically like that's basically what a lot of people would call self-sabotage, is like a willing death in a sense, for the potential of rebirth versus a slow, easy death. Whether you want to call that literal death or like death of something else, like I don't know, like your potential or like some kind of a thing. Is this making any sense, or am I totally off?
No, absolutely. Yeah, I fear not having access to art more than I fear being alone. So it's like
Yep, yep.
I do
That's a
think
good
good
place to be in, I think.
yeah, I do think good artists will do that to themselves to further their art. Whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, it can be both. It just depends on the person. I just keep telling myself that what's supposed to happen is supposed to happen, and I'm trusting that.
Yeah.
So I don't really
And
fear.
following and trusting your intuition, of course, because otherwise, if you weren't trusting your intuition, then you couldn't say what is supposed to happen is supposed to happen, right? Like,
Right.
there's a basic premise of like what's supposed to happen, given the fact that I'm following my intuition, is supposed to happen, which is
Correct.
interesting because a lot of people don't trust that. They don't trust
Yeah.
their intuition. But anyway, I cut you off. Continue, please.
No, you're good. Yeah. Um, yeah, that's just kind of how I've been living my life is just, following what seems right and figuring it out later and just trusting my gut. And if I need to do something, I'm doing it. And I just have to practice acting on it faster because, life's short. You got to go places. You got to go see shit. You got to hold hands with a model. You got to get broken up with on the phone. Like you got to go. Like if we didn't go to that show, I wouldn't have had a great time in LA. And that was like a last minute thing we were almost not going to do. So it's like the amount of. I guess you hear it from everyone. You just got to show up and just do it. It's
Yeah,
really important. That sounds easy, but it's not.
it's
Sometimes
actually
you just
not. It's not
yeah.
easy to show up sometimes.
Yes.
right?
Sometimes you just gotta fucking go there, regardless of whatever your brain is telling you, because shit can be magical.
Yes. And it's normally not even your brain telling you not to do shit. It's your fucking fear. It's like some stupid part. Like most of the time I think we want to do the thing that is, we want to go do that thing. We want to go to that party, but it's like this, maybe not fear, but like apathy or just like laziness or whatever you want to call it. Like, I mean, I struggle with that, and I always have struggled with that, and hopefully I will not always struggle with it, but whatever, it is what it is. But every time that, every single fucking time, it's like, oh, knock on wood, but almost without fail. It's like if there's something where I know deep down, like this is probably a good thing to do, even though I just don't want to do it. Just don't want to fucking do it. I don't want to go to that thing. I don't want to talk to those people. I don't want to meet these people. I don't want to do this thing. I don't want to have the obligation. I don't want the pressure. I don't want to. Every fucking time I do it, I'm glad I did it. I
Right.
walk away and I'm like, Jesus Christ, that was magical. It, like you just said, magical. It is magical. It's like every fucking time. It's like some weird thing happens. Something comes into your life. Something moves. Something shifts. You had a conversation. You met somebody. And that's why Express and I have always said, like, you know, you you do. There's luck, right? Obviously, and again, this is a little cliche, but this has been our experience, and this is what we've always told each other: is like there is luck, but a lot of times people don't do anything to even make luck possible. It's like, yeah, if you're really, really, really lucky, maybe you can just sit inside your apartment and fucking luck is just gonna strike like a fucking random meteorite, just gonna go right through your window, hit you in the face, and bam, you're lucky. But most of the time, like, even the bare minimum of effort, even the bare minimum of like, I'm just going to go outside and I'm going to walk into that place, or I'm going to do that, or I'm going to go there. It's like, just that bare minimum of effort nets you or yields you something that gives you a signal that says, like, you're on the right track. Here we go. Here's a thing. Here's a thing. Here's what's ever. And then a little bit of, and you also have to have the self awareness to, like, take your little wins. This is where I think people give up and get whatever weird, is like, they're like, it's not happening fast enough. Things aren't the way I want them to be. And I can already tell, based on us talking here, that you're not that way. But it's a hard temptation for people to avoid, like, it can be very difficult to appreciate the small wins. Like for me, I still have this fucking thing where, like, if I post something, like the first fucking 100 views or something, I'm like, oh my God, it's 100 fucking views, dude. That's fucking cool. Like if I had 100 people in a room, that's a lot of people.
Yeah.
I still think that's fucking amazing. So I don't even, I'm like totally detached from like the you're somebody else thing. To me, that's like a whole different like world. I don't even feel a part of that world. But like when I post something now and it gets like 20,000 or 5,000 or 2,000 or 200 or whatever, I still am like, God, that's so fucking cool. I'm not trying to like say like, oh, I'm so humble or whatever, but I swear to
No,
God,
yeah, I see what you're
I,
saying.
I
Yeah.
swear to God, like it's like if you can maintain that feeling of like the small wins, I think that's very important, because it is, unless, there are exceptions, but generally this stuff is like, I'll give you the Warren Buffett phrase when it comes to like investing. And you can think about it like investing in yourself or investing in art or investing in meaning and whatever, is time in the market beats trying to time the market, you know? So
Yeah.
how long can you outlast everybody else? Can you outlast the fucking people that like come in like a bright flame and then fizzle away? Because if you can, then you're gonna make it. It's gonna work. It will work. I'm telling you. Most people give up too soon. And honestly, a lot of times people give up right at the wrong moment. Like if they had just stuck it out for like 3 more weeks, but if you're not willing to give up, your success is guaranteed. Whatever that means to you. It doesn't mean the same thing to everybody, but it's like, I really believe that it's I think yeah. Anyway, fuck it. Yeah.
No, yeah, I agree. My
Rambling
dad.
on my soapbox here, but
No, yeah, my dad always told me like three things. Is like speaking on what you just said. Is like there's a story where these miners were stuck in a cave and they died 5 feet from getting out because they gave up. They had been digging for fucking 15 days, but
Jesus
if they
Christ.
would have just kept it going, they were right there, you know? And then to go back on what you previously saying, my dad always tells me if you're scared to do something, that means you're supposed to be doing it. So if you can kind of like rewire your brain to chase that shit that makes your stomach curl at night, then you can start knocking some shit out and getting it done because in life in the music industry, no one's going to hand you shit. And the way he describes it is like you got to go kill a bear with a knife and you have to tackle that shit down and get it, because no one's going to help you to an extent and with
No, but
reason.
I think he's right. It's just very vivid imagery, you know?
Yeah, yeah. And he's just trying to get me hyped up. But it's like,
No, but
that's the
he's
kind of,
right.
yeah, you got it. Like, there's stories where people walk in a label and they're like, this is the shit. Or, you know, playing for five people and acting like you're in an arena, but one of those five is an exec.
Exactly.
Um,
Yeah.
you just have to, go full force and really chase what is scary because when you do, like you said, you're always thankful that you did. And half the time when you finish it, you're like, oh, is that easy? All I had to do is that.
I
And
know.
then,
Fuck.
so there's like a lot of things like that where I'll just scare myself and it's all internal thoughts. And then I go and I'm like, oh my God, I can do this, you know,
Exactly. Well said. Well said, dude. Maybe that's a good place to leave this then,
might be.
right? Hey, let me ask you a question, man. Would you is there anything here that you've said where that you would want to see an edit before I post it? You know, because the only things that I ever do is like I if I say anything controversial or if somebody that I'm talking to says anything that's a little too off the chain or whatever, I'll maybe cut it possibly, especially if they want me to. But we didn't really get into any controversial subjects or politics. But if you want me to, I'm happy to send you this before I post it. Otherwise, uh, if you say the word, I will just I do a little color grading or whatever, and then I post it. What's your feeling currently?
I'm cool on it. I don't feel like I've said anything out of pocket. You're welcome to scrub
Next time.
anything.
Next time.
We'll get out of pocket next time. Yeah, you can use your discretion if you want to cut anything I've said or that you've said. Obviously, like do your thing. I feel good about what we talked
Perfect.
about. So I don't really need to hear anything.
Okay, and let me know because I'm happy to put whatever in I mean like I said, I'm posting this to a tiny nothing channel. It's more for like I'm a nerd about these things and I just really want to do this. It's a passion project for me, but I will put whatever you want like in the description. So if you want me to put links or anything like that, just at even if you don't do it in the meantime, like if you see that I'll send it to you when I've posted it, and if you're like, oh, by the way, can you just like tag whatever, happy to do that, obviously. So
But
uh,
yeah, you can just tag my Instagram and that's cool with me.
for sure, cool. Awesome. And I would love to talk to you again, man. I felt a little bit like I wasn't in my normal element because but I really wanted to like make sure that we did this if I could, even though I've pushed it way past my normal bedtime for a gig tomorrow. But I would love to like chat another time. So maybe we can we'll just go back and forth and see if we can make it happen again. But I really want you to know, man, that genuinely, weird as it may sound, I am proud of you, dude, and I actually I've really enjoyed following what you've been doing, and I like a lot. I mean, I think I like everything you've put out, to be honest with you, but I like some things more than others. Um, and I just think it's great, and actually it's inspiring to me, to be honest with you. It inspires me to uh stay on the course. You know what I mean? Like the fact that you're staying on the course inspires me to stay on the course. And uh, yeah, I'm proud of you. I love you, man, and thank you for talking to me.
Of course, and thank you so much for saying that. That means a lot because y'all did inspire me to like, get this thing kicked off and really give it a go. So yeah, it means a lot. Means a lot coming from you, and I do appreciate having these conversations with you. Um, yeah, and I'd love to
I
do it
hope we can
again.
do it. Yeah, I hope we can because yeah, this one felt, I don't know. I was coming, I don't know why I feel like I had a little more of a formal vibe, but I think it was because I'd already wrapped up my night and I thought I was gonna go to bed, and then I was just spontaneously like, fuck it. I'm gonna see if he, but
It's been a long time, so
it's been a
we
long
had to
time.
hop into it in a
Yeah,
formal way to
yeah,
get loose.
exactly. Yeah, I mean, it is a business. I mean, we are, you know, we're
Next time we'll start with a beer shotgun
Yeah,
just
no,
to
I
get
think
it
we got to do the
loose.
shotgun thing, and I think we should like not be like I think I should be moving around with the thing, and you should be
Right.
moving around. I think we, like let's have a proper hang next time, and but I really enjoyed this, and I hope that this was nice for you as well.
It
Uh,
was.
but yeah, Corey, thank you so much, dude, and keep going, keep me posted on your the LA move, and let me know. I mean, let me know if you're ever gonna be able to make it over to Stockholm and stuff. As I told you, what we already talked about it, but would love to have you over here. So,
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll send you some music when I have it.
oh,
And
dude, fucking please, yes,
yeah,
keep me
sweet,
posted.
man.
All right, dude, and say hi to Will.
Yeah, say hi to Spressa and everybody
I
too.
will. I will. I know Espresso wants to talk to you as well, so you should get in touch with her because I know she wants to catch up. So,
100%.
all right, take care, buddy.
All right, dude. See ya.
Bye bye.